Hey everybody, you're watching CAD Roll Hunter. Today we're not coin roll hunting pennies because we don't have rolls to hunt. Instead we got this big old bag of pennies. It is about $50 worth, which would be a full box or 50 rolls. We're gonna look for goodies in here. Can we find anything awesome? Stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is James and you're watching my channel CAD Roll Hunter, and we got ourselves a bag of pennies. This bag came from the Toronto Penny Hoard. You'll remember the other bag we got there was chock full of over 70 foreign coins. We could see them through the bag, and I don't see anything like that here, but you never know if we're gonna find old pennies. We might still get some foreigns. Could we find anything rare or valuable? The only way to find out is cracking at this bag, dump it out, and start sorting through it, which is what we're gonna do. We're also gonna look to see if we can find any pennies to fill our Lighthouse Vista Nature album. So let's get started. All right, to get us started, I've cut the top off of this bag. I figure I'm just gonna dump a pile out here and then start to sort it. I said this is about $50 worth of pennies because these bags were intended to be filled by customers. They could take a bag and fill it. They probably weighed it too, but you can see there's a fill line there. So it's probably roughly $50. It may or may not be exactly $50, and we're not gonna count it. That's craziness. But what we are gonna do is get started by dumping some of these pennies out, and hopefully not dumping them everywhere. I'll just pull a bunch out onto the mat. There we go, and we'll get started with that. I'll push the bag back, and I'll just keep pulling handfuls out when we're ready. And I gotta get a few things ready. I gotta get the scale. We wanna find out if any of these are copper. There are some transition years, particularly with the United States in 1982. We wanna get our magnet to distinguish between steel and zinc cents, of course. And yeah, we want to be prepared because we're looking for some errors, some varieties. We need all the tools. Oh, and we need to get the copper cup so that we can separate out all the copper from the zinc and steel. Scale, check. Magnet, check. Copper cups, check. I'm going to pull you in as soon as I find anything interesting in here. I'm just going to go through them one at a time. I can already see some pretty shiny, nice looking coins in here. Look at that brilliant 1979. That is fantastic. Hopefully that bodes well for this bag. I'm going to set this one aside for sure. Have a look at this. It's a 1978, just as nice as that 79. I already found a 1980 that was pretty close, but it looks like we might find some really nice ones in here. That's awesome. Well, I just saw it. We're going to get our first laureate portrait. That is a 1962. There's a variety we can look for here. We'll pull it up under the scope. Well, there's actually a couple of things we can look for. One is the harp or guitar variety. You'd see some lines coming down from this one here. We don't have that, but it looks like we do have the hanging two. There is a die clash from the obverse of the coin. It's the queen's chin and neck that makes it look like it's holding up this two. Normally we don't see them in coins that are this brown and circulated. It's a little harder to see, but we can actually see it pretty clearly there. This is not one I'm going to set aside because you can typically find these, essentially the early 60s ones, or especially the early 60s ones, in a nicer condition. So just one to note, but if you can find one in great condition, I always pull those aside for sure. Okay, we're going to get a few things here. Here is another 1962 laureate portrait. I don't see the guitar or harp, but I just spied over here a couple things. One, we're going to get a foreign. We got a 1988 German 2 Pfennig coin, so we'll set that aside. And I spotted a US dime. It's from the 90s. It's not silver. That would have been really cool. But yeah, we got some a foreign, well, a couple foreigns, including a US dime. And I literally just put that dime down when I saw a couple things here. One is another laureate portrait, and this time it's a 1964. And right beside it, what looks to be a pretty old Lincoln cent. And it is old. That's a 1911 out of Philadelphia. Look how worn and slick that is. But a teens Lincoln wheat cent. That is awesome. Over 110 years old. So far, we're pretty heavily weighted on copper, but we did find a 2012. And if you know, Canada got rid of the penny, and 2012 is the last year they were issued. So a last year Canadian penny. Here's our first 1963. No Georges yet. Well, we got a couple more here. We got another laureate portrait. It is pretty blackened. It's a 1962. And then we got 10 centimo from the Philippines. I wonder if Gilbert sent that for me. You never know. 2013. Gilbert is a member on the channel for a long time. He is in the Philippines, and I know he gets a kick out of seeing me find some Filipino coins here in Canada. And that one's in great shape. It is really bright and shiny. Here is our first penny from the 50s, 1955 laureate portrait. Nice. Well, so far we're doing pretty good for foreigns. We got a bunch now. This is a 1981, another one from Germany, 1 Pfennig. So finish that first handful off the board here. Lots of copper, only a little bit of steel and zinc. We got some American zinc here as well, and some American copper. But we got to get into this bag and see what else we can find. We got lots of these bright shiny from the late 70s, early 80s, so there's probably a bunch more in here too. That's exciting. And there's definitely more of these. Here's a 1977, and I could just see some more bright shinies in here. Oh, goodness. Some more. Yeah, there's another 79 there, just looking gorgeous. And there's another laureate portrait, 1963 right there. Now, here is one that doesn't belong. Check this out. This is 2014, 2 pence. That is a really cool design and definitely much bigger than a Canadian penny. 2 pence from the United Kingdom. Here's one of those 1979s. You can see it's pretty much in a mint state, and it has doubling on the date. It is not a doubled die. It is die deterioration. Just spreads out the base of those numbers. You can see this is the 779. I'm just rotating it so you can kind of see without the light causing a shadow. It's just die deterioration, but it's really cool. Okay, this is pretty exciting. I am bringing you in because I just caught sight of something sitting on the edge here, making my way through. And I don't know if you can see that, but this 1980 here, we got a clipped planchet. You can see it on the right-hand side. There is a clip there. I'm going to throw this under the scope. We'll get a closer look. That is wicked. There it is. You can see that clip on that side there, just a tiny little bit of a clip. We should see across there the Blakesley effect, which is just a bit of an elongation. Really hard to see on this one because it's not a really huge clip. But we can sort of see that right there where it's just spread out a little bit, the force from that clip. That is a clipped planchet. That is cool. That's probably, I'm going to say that might be a $10 or $15 coin, and it's in beautiful shape too, which is awesome. And I'm going to flip that one up. This is the find of the day so far. This is pretty awesome. And I've just flipped it over so you can see the other side there. That is a really, really great find. I spy with my little eye a U.S. wheat cent, 1956. Another good one. And we're going to get another Filipino coin, another beautiful one here, 2013 again. 10 centimos. Beautiful. I found a couple more 1963s that I didn't record, but here is our first from 1961. So we keep finding the Elizabeth Laureate portrait. There's another 1962. But we got to find her dad, King George VI. That would be great. And we're actually going to find him right away. I just saw what looked like an older edge. I just pushed this coin back. And we got him, 1942. This is our first King George VI. Welcome to the party. This one's actually got lots of detail. You can see all the detail in the hair there. Pretty nice looking coin for 1942. Lots of detail. Brown, of course. Definitely circulated, but a nice looking 42. We're going to get another foreign. This time it is going to be from the Eurozone. There's a 2007. This one is from France. 1 euro cent. So you need to take a look at this big stack of beautiful 1980s that are in here. And check out this one that I found. I'm wondering if somebody had a roll of these 1980s. Maybe all of these. Got 81, 80, 79, 78, 77. That look like they just came right from the mint. Beautiful. Just poured out another little handful here, and gonna have a couple more foreigns. This one, 2017, 2 euro cent. I'm not sure on the country. I'll definitely have to, oh, well, of course it says Spain right on there. Well, I guess I should look a little more closely. So that's for Spain. And then I know for sure this one is from Germany. This is 5 Pfennig. This one from 1992. Someone was certainly traveling, because a little further into this, another 1992, but this one is 10 pfennigs. I just keep finding more and more of these gleaming coins from the early 80s. 1980 there. You can see I got a whole stack of them. I'm going to have to probably make another stack before this one falls over. Found us another oldie. It's going to be a 1943. That's our second King George VI. And pretty close by, there's another 1964 laureate portrait. Here's a couple more. There's a 1963 laureate portrait. And just over here is another wheat cent from the States. 1927, no mint mark, so that's from Philadelphia. It's an oldie from the 20s. All right, so in this pile we have another 4 and 5 euro cent. But what's interesting is that we have gotten 1 euro cent and 2 euro cents. And we've also got a 1, 5, 10, and a 2 pfennig. So just one of each of these denominations. It's almost like somebody had a little bit of a collection of German and Euro coins, and we're kind of getting all of them. We'll see if we can get each of the denominations as we go through this bag. Another handful, and there's another foreign that stands out. It's a pretty small coin, but it certainly did look like a penny. 1974. From the Philippines, isang centimo. So 1 cent. Really cool. I've never seen this one before, I can tell you that much. Here is the nicest penny we found from the 60s. Still has lots of mint luster. That is that laureate portrait, just starting to turn brown. But that is a very nice one. Getting towards the end of this this handful. There is another laureate portrait. This one's from the 50s, 1959. We're going to get another foreign, and it's going to be another Filipino coin, 2013 10 centimo. I just dumped out another portion of this bag, and we're going to find the best thing yet. I'm not talking about that euro over there. I'm not talking about that beautiful 1980. I'm not talking about that euro. Check this out. It is a reeded edge laureate portrait, 1958, 80% silver dime. We got silver in our bag of Canadian pennies. We've had a whole bunch of foreigns. We've got some bright, shiny coins from the 80s and 70s. And now we got silver, a 1958, 80% silver laureate portrait dime. That is an incredible find. That is just awesome. And now that we got that great find out of the way, we'll look and see what some of these other cool finds are. It's 5 euro cents. That is probably from Italy. And then we got over here another 2007 1 euro cent from France. And we've got several of these just beautiful gleaming 1980s. There's another one right here. Somebody must have had a whole roll of these 1980s and some of these other ones too, 79, 80, 81, that they just dumped in here. And of course, silver, which is just incredible. Wow. And here's something different. This is the biggest one so far. This is 20 centavos from Mexico, 1969. There is that eagle standing on a cactus, biting the snake. I love that design. Just wicked. Couple more laureate portrait. There's one from 62, but here is one from the 50s. It is a 1954. That is awesome. Same pile here. Here's another one from the 50s. It's our second 1959. And yet another unexpected find. This is 10 yen from Japan. Kind of blended in with all of these underneath these, but quite a bit bigger. We'd never find this in a roll of pennies, but these bags give us a great opportunity, obviously, to find foreign coins. This is pretty awesome. And here is our brightest, shiniest, older US find, a beautiful looking 1978 copper penny. Awesome. Another laureate portrait. This one's a 1960, our first 1960. And I saw another really shiny one in here. We may as well take a look at that one. Got a few spots on it, but is a brilliant 1981. All right, I think we are down to the last pour of the bag. I don't know if we're gonna get any more silver. That was kind of crazy, but we'll just dump it all out here. And we'll kind of look together and see if there's anything. Well, there's some good luck carpet fiber. Definitely some more beautiful gem-like coins. That one's a 1979. I'll put it on my 1979 pile that's growing there. Yep, I don't see any silver, and I don't off the top see any obvious or big foreigns. There's a laureate portrait right there, another 1963. Oh, there is a Japanese 10 yen, so we got a second one of those. That's pretty cool. Let's just look a little more closely. You never know what's lurking in here. Oh, I see another laureate portrait there, another 1964. Of course, you're probably going to spot something that I'm missing as I'm looking through these, but you know what? I'll turn the camera off. I'll start going through. Of course, I'm separating out all of the copper. We got lots of copper, 4 full cups of copper. I'm going to have to dump these into something because I don't have any more cups left. And 2 full cups of zinc and steel Canadian cents. We got this big pile right here of zinc cents. And we got over 2 rolls there of US copper. And of course, a whole whack of other finds, including some foreigns and that clipped planchet. And of course, silver in the bag. Awesome. Making my way through this last pile here, still pulling out some beauties like these 2 1979s. We got a couple older ones here. There's a 58 and a 64. I think, well, there's a pretty nice looking 79 there too. So I'll get all of these out of here, see if there are any other surprises before we wrap up. Here is a couple more laureate portraits. There is a 64, and then right here, another 1963. But that's not why I grabbed the camera. It's because we found George yet again, 1940, King George VI. We're going to have at least one more find in here, and that's an oldie, a 1953. We got to check and see if it's the shoulder fold or no shoulder fold. Here it is under the scope. It's going to be the common no shoulder fold. We won't see a line on the shoulder here. We can tell that because of the serif font, these flared edges on the eye. The shoulder fold in the 1953 is the less common one, which would have a significant premium over this coin. Well, we're down to the very end, but check it out. We got a 1946 wheat cent. One more wheat cent for the board. Well, that was an awesome hunt, and we got tons of copper, and that's not even all of it because we got a whole bunch of US copper too, and that's not even all of it, but we'll get to that later. This is the steel and zinc cents, the Canadian stuff, and over here is all our American zinc cents. We even got a US dime, but that's not even all of it because we got another dime too. I did find a bunch of bright and shinies here. There's a last year 2012 penny and a bunch of US. We got a couple of copper ones there, a 77 and a 78, and some really nice looking zinc cents. Now we'd expect to get the occasional nice bright and shiny older cent and especially the newer stuff. But check this out. Look at all of this stuff we got from the 70s and the 80s. All these BU cents. We got one from 76. We got a little stack of 77s, more from 78, more from 79, and then a whole bunch from 1980. And there's actually a lot in here that were really close, that maybe had fingerprints. You can see some more shiny stuff in here where they just were starting to turn brown. This was the best of the best, and I tend to keep this and roll this up in rolls of BU cents. And we got a whole bunch of foreign coins, 21 to be exact, not quite the 78 we got in the last bag. And you couldn't even see them from the outside. Unlike the last bag, you could tell when we looked at that bag, there were gonna be lots of foreigns. This one, they were kind of hiding in there, mostly because they are that kind of bronze or copper color for the most part. But we got 4 from Germany. We got a 10, a 5, a 2, and a 1 Pfennig. We got 5, 2, and a bunch of 1 euro cents. We got that 2 pence from the UK, 20 centavos from the 60s and Mexico, a bunch from the Philippines, and 2 from Japan. Just crazy. And of course, we got some more of the stuff that we would expect to get. We got 34 laureate portraits from the 60s. We got just 160, 161, a bunch of 62s, 63s, and a bunch of 64s, including that really nice one on the top there. We got 6 from the 50s, 53, 54, 55, 58, and a couple of 59s. We even got a few King George VI from the 40s, 40, 42, 43. And we got some U.S. wheat cents, and we even got some old ones. That 1911 from Philadelphia, that 27. We got a 41 and a 56. And of course, check out, again, just all that BU stuff. I'll roll them up for sure. And out of this lot, we got one that stood out, and that was this guy right here. This beautiful 1980 with a clipped planchet. I've already flipped it up because that is just a cool find. You can see it really beautiful there. That is awesome. A clipped planchet from 1980. Makes me wonder if whoever had it before just didn't ever notice that. But what a great coin to find. But that wasn't the only surprise in here, because we got a silver dime, a 1958 laureate portrait. Now, I have found pennies, or sorry, I should say, I have found silver dimes and pennies before, but usually they're really tarnished and they blend in. Not this one. This is gleaming bright white, beautiful silver. That is awesome. On the whole, what an incredible hunt. Just tons of stuff. The very last thing we need to do is look and see if we can add any of these beauties to our Lighthouse Vista Nature album. I brought out the Lighthouse Vista Nature album, and it wasn't hard to find a couple of great upgrades here. In the 1980, I put a nice one in there, and in 1982, that one's just gleaming. We already had a lot of nice cents, so I didn't really try to make, any upgrades that were just going to be tiny bit better. But most of ours were concentrated in a handful of years. But that was a fun hunt. We found tons of stuff. I've rolled up all of the BU stuff. I do that in these clear rolls. Here's a full roll of 1980 that we got, and I finished this roll of 81. And I put them all in here with partial rolls of BU cents, all labeled by year. So these can go in there. I hope you enjoyed this penny hunt. We looked through a big bag of pennies. We found all sorts of stuff, including a mint error and silver, which is pretty awesome. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, CAD Roll Hunter, and you made it this far, I think you'll love my content. So go ahead and click that button and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to all of you who have subscribed, and thank you so much to my members for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. We'll see you again soon. Until next time. The sponsors of today's video are Lighthouse Canada and the Charlton Press. Lighthouse Canada is the leading supplier of high-quality numismatic supplies in Canada, and the Charlton Press is the leading publisher of coin and paper money catalogs and price guides for Canadian collectors. Go check out their online stores today and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 for 20% off all your purchases.